Considering Civil War has now been out for about 3 weeks and I'm getting a bunch of people asking, I'm going to give you sort of my mini review slash thoughts on Captain America Civil War. Just to warn you, there is going to be spoilers because I'm talking about the movie kind of in detail. I am going to try and keep this below 10 minutes though, otherwise I will end up ranting for 1,000 years. So, first off the bat, I just want to say that I really enjoyed it. If Age of Ultron was a 1 and Winter Soldier was a 10, I would stick Civil War as like a solid 8. Like, it was a really good movie. It was never going to be Winter Soldier because Winter Soldier is literally perfect, but it was pretty close. An 8's really good. So I'm going to start by telling you the things I loved, which was most of it. The action sequences were great, the airport scene was amazing, the fight scenes were great, the stunt work was amazing, which I was really looking forward to, considering it was the Russos that directed Winter Soldier and that directed this. I was hoping they would do more of that really awesome stunt work, and they did, so that was amazing. Special effects were great, Ant-Man / Giant Man was awesome, and like sort of the comedy in it was great. I love the like Falcon, Bucky, Steve like friendship thing, Bro TP, they were awesome. It was great. I suppose people want to hear what I thought about Spider-Man. I'm not a Spider-Man fan. Comics, movies, anything. I really am not into Peter Parker. So I was just kind of like, oh, Spider-Man's a thing. I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. He was just there. Sorry. Everyone's wanted to hear my thoughts on Spider-Man, and I'm just like, Spider-Man happened. I've got to say, the second time I went to see it, I did wait for the Queen's Spider-Man introduction, and that's when I went for a wee. So that's kind of my feelings towards Spider-Man. I'm mostly just glad that the people who love Spider-Man got the Spider-Man they wanted, so yay. Oh, also side note, I do have to give honourable mentions to Vision, Scarlet Witch and Black Panther because they were all absolutely kick-ass. Like, at the end of Age of Ultron, I wasn't too fussed about Scarlet Witch. I really didn't care for Vision at all. In this, 100% changed my mind. I love how Vision kind of skated the line between like cute and creepy. That was awesome. Scarlet Witch was a freaking badass, and I'm kind of glad that they had her kind of, I liked it all black. I always felt like, is this a mourning thing for her brother? Cool. But they didn't go too much into that because she'd kind of had her thing in Age of Ultron. She was awesome, like, love her, love Vision. Black freaking Panther, oh my damn, that was amazing. Everything he did was perfect. Chadwick Boseman is the best. Like, he was perfect as Black Panther. The suit was cool, the powers were great, the claws were amazing, the fighting was spectacular, his whole development in this movie was fantastic, and now I'm extra mad that I have to wait like an extra couple of years for his movie because I need it right now. Like, you guys know I'm all about Bucky, but when he was fighting Black Panther, I was just like, when they were fighting, I was just like, what? I don't know who to look at. Like, Black Panther is so cool. So yeah, there was a bunch of stuff about it I really loved. It was a great movie. The pacing was really good, which is amazing considering how much they had to fit in. I can't think of many other movies that had so much to cram in that did it and it didn't feel either rushed or slow anywhere. Like, it all felt very necessary. However, that is going to lead me on to my first kind of like negative point, and just to say, these are all just little, like, I know I'm nitpicking. Like, it was a really good movie, so these are little nitpicks. I know this is, yeah. So let's go into this. My first kind of issue is that it was very Iron Man heavy. I don't like Tony Stark. I mean, I think he's played great. Like, he's really well done. But I mean, I don't like, you know, I think like Tony Stark's the worst. I also feel like he's had 3 of his own movies and he's the main character in both the Avengers films. Like, that's 5 movies. Like, we know who you are. Like, we know what your motivation is. You've had 5 movies. You kind of had your chance. It was a little bit annoying that so much of this was him. And especially because a lot of it did cut from sort of these heavy cap scenes to be like, bang, Iron Man. I'm like, oh, again? Like, we know what his motivation is. We don't need more Iron Man. Again, if this was, I keep coming back to this, basically. If this had been Avengers Civil War, it would have been perfect. It would have been a 10. Best Avengers movie ever. But it's Captain America Civil War. And this film is many things, but it's not a Captain America movie. It just isn't. That kind of leads me on to the next point, which is some of the issue for me, the biggest issue probably, is that I felt like the heart had been taken out of the Bucky and Steve relationship. just something was missing. And I appreciate that almost everything Steve does in this movie, Bucky is the motivation. You know, he's doing this to keep him safe, he's doing this to protect him. He doesn't want Black Panther to get him, whatever, he picks him up at the end. Bucky's his whole thing, I get that. I didn't quite believe it though. Like, after we have this, and when I say relationship, I mean platonic, romantic, whatever you want it to be is fine, like whatever. Either, it doesn't matter because it didn't have either of it. Like, it was, the heart was gone out of it, and I can't figure out why. Like, if you look at this relationship, they started building in the first Avenger, massively takes another leap in the Winter Soldier, obviously, and by the end of the Winter Soldier, we're kind of promised, like, you're gonna get this payoff, they're gonna be reunited, you know, it's gonna be this emotional thing. We hit Civil War, and it never happens. And there's this weird physical distance between them. Like, even when they first meet in that apartment, they're like across the room from each other. And the most contact we get between them is Steve clapping his hand on Buck's shoulder and then picking Bucky up at the end after the fight. Like, there's no kind of like reunited hug or anything. It's bizarre. It's so weird. Like, you'd hug your friends for less than what they've been through. It's very strange, and I've had this conversation with a few people. Actually, quite a few people have said that they felt the same thing. They came out of the movie feeling just like something was kind of gone in regards to the Bucky and Steve friendship. And I'm starting to think, although I don't want to be this cynical, I can't help it, I'm starting to think it might have been a deliberate decision by Marvel Disney as the big company, you know, saying, you know, what you did with Winter Soldier was great, but that's a strong relationship between two men, like, we can't be dealing with that. I don't want to think it's that. It's not just me that thinks that, you know, I've had that response from a lot of people without even mentioning it. Like, that's been people's, you know, oh, I felt this. I don't want to think it's that. It could be. I did a whole video kind of alluding to this stuff and mentioning this stuff, and why I think Marvel Disney might have issues with that kind of thing. That's really sad if that is the case, but I can see it being the case. I don't know. It felt like the heart was taken out of it. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think on that. I have had a lot of people mention it to me on Twitter and stuff, that they felt the same, that just, it was odd, it was something was gone. Like, even like the takes that are in the movie, the scenes that are in the movie, felt like, you know, one of maybe 20 takes, and the other takes were more emotional. I don't know, just something was off for me. And that's weird after a film like Winter Soldier, which is very, very Steve and Bucky heavy. We were also promised that there would be a World War II flashback in this that isn't in it. I can only hope that that is going to be a deleted scene, which I appreciate. Flashbacks are a tough thing to put in anyway, let alone in a movie that's so rammed with current events. I mean, we got the Stark murder flashback, which I have been desperately waiting for since the Winter Soldier, so I was so pleased with that. And the way Bucky did it, like, so brutally to make it look like the wheel of the car had smashed Howard's face in, brilliant. I was like, yes, my baby. So I was very pleased that we got to see that. Another couple of small issues. I thought the soundtrack was a little bit lazy. Just some of it seemed kind of reused from Winter Soldier, which I get it, similar themes, whatever, but I don't know, it just felt lazy. But maybe I need to listen to it again. I wasn't a huge fan of the Winter Soldier soundtrack. I mean, Henry Jackman is capable of really good stuff. Winter Soldier soundtrack had Taking a Stand, which is amazing, so this soundtrack for Civil War might also have some standout. The music over the fight scenes, in particular the end fight scene and the airport scene, were great, so maybe. Side note from that as well, the end fight with Bucky and Steve and Iron Man was amazing. Like, that shot between the pillars of, like, the comic shot, you know what I mean? That was amazing. Bucky getting his arm ripped off was like, oh! I saw the blast and I was like, did he? He didn't. And then he turns around and the arm's missing, and I almost screamed, like, oh my god. Back to kind of things I'm not as pleased with. I feel like Bucky's recovery was very rushed over. I feel like he should have a little bit more, there should have been more consequences of what he's been through. And I'm not saying that I wanted 2 hours of, you know, angsty recovery. That's what fan fiction's for. There should have been something else. Like, there should have been more impact of what's happened to him. It just felt like there wasn't really much. The most we see of that is that moment where he's sat after they've caught him, and Zemo starts saying the words, and he starts, you know, smashing his way at the glass. That's the first and one of the only little bits we get where you're like, oh damn, like, something's happened to this poor guy. You know, we're finally seeing the impact of it. It felt like a shame. I feel a little bit cheated, and that is my general feeling, is that I feel cheated out of my third Captain America movie that I was promised, because this isn't the movie that we were promised. Like, if you read the press stuff and watch the interviews and all this stuff beforehand, they were promising a movie that we didn't get. And this is a great movie. It's just not the one they told us we were getting. I feel like I've been given another Avengers movie, which is great. But because of that, I feel cheated out of my third Captain America movie. And I feel cheated out of the fact that his story arc now isn't going to wrap up how I expected it, or at least it's not going to progress how I wanted it to, because all the stuff I wanted has been very much rushed over. That's a shame. What can you do? The only other thing I wasn't too happy with, I thought Agent 13 was unnecessary. I thought Emily Van Camp's performance as her wasn't very good. I don't know if that's down to the writing. I felt like it was the performance, especially at the funeral scene. It was very much blank. Like, that's her aunt that's just died, and she has like no emotion when she's delivering that great speech from the comics. I felt like if Steve had delivered that speech, or even a very old Jarvis, that would have had a bit more impact. And I feel like a lot of the emotional moments, you were rushed on to the next thing without having a chance to really feel them. That said, the only thing that made me outright actually cross, like so cross that second time I watched it, I actually left the cinema before it happened, was the first post-credit scene. I think partly, number one, it was a cop-out, just to be like, we don't know what to do with the Winter Soldier, so I guess shove him in a freezer. And the second part that I didn't like about that was, I feel like that should have been slightly more traumatic for him. Like, he's been through a lot of stuff, and like the cold would have a negative connotation for him. Like, we've had that basically told to us over 2 previous movies, and now he's just getting back into a freezer with no issue. That's weird. I mean, if you go right back to the first Avenger, you know, in the 40s when they were younger, little skinny Steve Rogers almost died every winter from the cold, you know? And then we see him fall from the train into the snow. In Winter Soldier, they give us flashbacks that show him laying in the snow with his arm missing, and Hydra dragging him off. Like, we see him in this awful weather, this happening, and then over 70 odd years, he gets in and out of cryo-freeze all the time. We see him getting frozen in the Winter Soldier. He looks frightened. He puts his hand up to the glass. In Civil War, we see him getting defrosted. Like, this should be traumatic. And then it rolls around to the end of Civil War, and he just has almost like, he's just like, okay, yeah, I'm fine. And I totally get that he would want to put himself away, like he wouldn't trust himself. I completely agree with that mentality that he would have. What I don't agree is that he seems pretty calm about it. Like, I feel like at the very least, he should be like a bit panicky about it. I don't know. Or like have Steve be like, Buck, it's okay. You know, reassuring him. Instead, Steve just like, are you sure? And Buck's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And like just lets it go. Like, I feel like Steve would have been like more unhappy to have him go in. He should have been like, really? Do you really want to do this? I can look after you. Like, we can make sure, blah, blah, blah. There should have been a bit of fight about it, and there wasn't. And Bucky should have been a little bit more distressed about going back into a freezer, which he's been forced in and out of. Either that, or he should have almost been like shut down, like disassociating from the entire thing. But it wasn't either. It was just like he was fine about being frozen again. I don't know. I loved the movie, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I don't have a few issues with it. I'm hoping the more I watch it, the more I love it. I did love it. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I did. These are just small issues. I'm hoping that with repeat viewings, I kind of accept it a little bit more from seeing it a second time, which I definitely recommend, by the way. Seeing the cinema a second time, I did feel a lot more at peace. I could take a lot from what I did get. I felt 100% better with it. So I would recommend seeing it a couple of times. It's a great movie. That's my thoughts on it. So please, please, please leave me comments. Let me know what you thought. Follow me on all the various social media, and hopefully I'll see you soon. I think that's everything.